Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So I want to talk about the incidents involving police that have been going on. Now obviously they've been going on for years now and for many years now. But I want to discuss the two most recent incidents that have all of a sudden popped up in the news. So the one with the officer, the army medic, Caron Nazario, I believe is his name, who was pepper sprayed in Windsor, Virginia. I believe it happened December 5th, but it's only now coming out as we're seeing the body cam from the officers has been released, and we're seeing it in the news right now. And then obviously Daunte Wright, who was killed, I believe it was Sunday. He was killed. Um, Unfortunately, again, another incident involving police. So that's what I want to talk about. So what is to say up front? What I want to say, it's really what is really clear is that police officers know how to kill, right? Police officers are trained how to kill, and that is very clear. It's very evident that police officers know how to kill. But what is also clear is that police officers don't know, a lot of them, right? A lot of them, not all of them, but it's quite clear that a lot of them don't know how to communicate. And so if you can't communicate, then you cannot de-escalate any situation because you don't have it within you, or you choose not to communicate, right? So what is quite clear is that a lot of these police officers, they know how to kill, but they do not know how to communicate, or they choose not to communicate with certain people. And because of that inability to communicate or choosing not to communicate, it's quite clear that they cannot de-escalate situations that should not end up in people having to lose their lives over and over and over and over and over again. And you're seeing it, you're seeing it, you're seeing it. It just keeps happening. Now, in the case of Daunte Wright, the they say it's a mistake. All right, they're saying, well, it's a mistake that and mistakes. Hey, mistakes do happen, right? But this is not a mistake that can go that you could really just get past and just forgive this type of mistake. We all know mistakes happen, but this is one where you can't just get by it and say, well, okay, well, mistakes happen. A mistake is if you're cooking and you reach for one ingredient instead of the other, and you put too much salt in something because you thought that you were grabbing sugar and they look alike, or whatever the case is. Now that's a mistake, right? But when you kill someone, that's not just a mistake. You can come and say, well, it's a mistake. And so you've got to go back now and look and see, why does that mistake happen, or why do these mistakes keep happening, right? Why do these mistakes keep happening? If you look at what happened with Tamir Rice and him being shot just like that, didn't even get a chance to say anything, or just a rush of blood and a rush of violence by the officer in that case as well. When you look at those types of situations, you realize something is also quite clear with a lot of police officers. And people hate to admit it, but it's so true. They have a preconceived bias when it comes to dealing with black men. It's so clear, it's so true, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it because if you talk about it, they say you're talking about race, or you're doing this, or whatever the case is. But the truth is, a lot of these police officers have an issue with dealing with black men. And you see, a lot of times you're seeing that it's a show of force, right? Because they have the wind at their back when it comes to the fact that they have the gun and the badge, and they have the title of a police officer, but they're not using it in a way, a lot of times, to be able to de-escalate situations, to use that power to de-escalate situations. They're using it to, which is what is quite evident, they're using it in a way that's leading to people losing their lives. And that is what the issue is. So you have a gun and you have a badge and you have a title, and then what do you do with it? And it's quite clear that a lot of these people who are police officers should not be police officers. One of the problem with this whole thing is that there are two things going on here. It's a lack of training, and then it's also the fact that they have preconceived biases, right? A lack of training and preconceived biases. So what needs to happen is the police force really needs to really be reorganized. There needs to be training done, right? These officers need to go through really strict, really strong, stringent training. It has to happen, or else we're going to see a lot of these types of situations happening. Communication, it's either they can't do it or they've never been taught it. But maybe these officers need communication courses. They need to take communication courses where they can also learn about preconceived biases and why you shouldn't approach people based on preconceived biases. Because what is quite clear is they're approaching a lot of these black men based on preconceived biases. You look at how they're yelling and they're shouting and they're this and that, and you answer, why is that even necessary? Ask yourself, if you're married or you ever dated someone or whatever the case is, and you got into an argument, if you start yelling and shouting at someone, what happens? Do you think a lot of times you're going to be able to solve anything, right? You have to take the high road a lot of times. And obviously they don't care about doing that because, as I've said, a lot of times they have that preconceived bias. So they don't know how to talk to people, and that's where the communication comes in, right? They don't know how to approach people and talk to people. And one of the reasons they can't do it is because of the preconceived bias. A lot of these police officers are racist. And when you say it, the thing is, some people get upset and they say you're talking about race and they're talking about this and you're talking about that. It's the truth. They hate some black men just because of the color of their skin. And it is a fact. And the thing about it is, if we cover it up and we don't do anything about it, you're going to keep on seeing these things happen over and over again. So a lot of these men feel intimidated just by the fact that sometimes the person that they're pulling over is black and they're dealing with the person that's black. And if you look at the George Floyd situation where Derek Chauvin, or whatever his name is, has his knee on this guy's neck with his hands in his pocket, like, who cares what happens, right? I mean, that tells you also just how they regard certain people and how they look at certain people. Now, this is not all police officers, but I also have to say that the good police officers, they have a responsibility. Their responsibility is to expose and call out all the other police officers that they know that are not good for the system, that's not good for... So, because what happens is when some of these officers do this stuff, all police officers get blamed, right? And we know all police officers are not bad. But if you are a police officer and you see other people doing stuff, you have to call them out so that they will not hurt your image. They're not going to end up making you look like you are the enemy of the people, so to speak, right? You don't want to be seen as that. But when you're associating yourself, right, guilty by association, when you're not calling out the people that you know are not good police officers, then you're just leaving them in there to be able to create more drama. So you see both of these instances with the Army medic who was pepper sprayed, right? And in that situation, look, it's not because he was wearing an Army uniform that he deserved special treatment, but you would think that perhaps the police officer, Joe Gutierrez, who was fired, right, rightfully so, you would think that he would, and sued, right, you would think that he would at least approach him from that standpoint and that they could have some kind of conversation instead of him. A lot of these police officers just seem to always be quick to reach for their gun or to reach for it. And that's why the officer that killed Daunte Wright is in that situation now. Quick to reach for something instead of actually reaching for words, right? Instead of trying to talk to someone or whatever the case is, always quick to reach for something because that's where they feel their power is. When the power is really in your ability to be able to talk to someone and to communicate with them, not to be able to shoot them and kill them or to accidentally, pull your taser instead of maybe you should have checked too to see which one you had in your hand before you actually used it. Maybe that's like common sense stuff that you probably should do. But, it's a situation of why that happened also is it goes back to a lot of them are trained to kill, but they're not trained to communicate. And police officers need training. They need communication courses. They need diversity courses. Those who don't want to be in the police force, let them leave, because by them leaving, it's actually a good thing for other police officers. And other people might actually want to become a police officer, right? When they don't see all that type of stuff going on. So yes, people are sick and tired. People are fed up. People are, just upset. So, in the case of Daunte Wright, you can't just say, well, it's a mistake. So, well, it's a mistake. I killed him and it's a mistake. Well, a mistake, as I said, is if you grab for salt instead of sugar, or if you grab for sugar instead of salt and you're pissed because you just spoiled your pot that you're cooking. That's a mistake. But when you kill somebody, maybe you should check that you're pulling your gun, you're pulling your taser, and you're not pulling your gun. All right, that might be. And then they're gonna always say, well, it's in the rush of the moment. Or well, if you can't handle the heat, then you shouldn't do the job, right? If you can't operate under pressure, they love to use the excuse that, well, it's under pressure. Well, then leave. Right? Leave. If you can't handle pressure, then you shouldn't be doing a certain type of job. Go patrol the mall or whatever the case is and look for something that's not quite as challenging and where you have people's lives at risk, and stop using the excuse that, well, it's a circumstance and it's a this, and people, yes, we know stuff happens, but it's happening a lot. And so if you're going to pull your gun instead of your taser, maybe you should be patrolling the mall and not be out there where you could accidentally kill people, because as I said, that's not an accident that you could just get over, that type of stuff. And again, as I said, there's a reason why these things are happening, and it's because a lot of these police officers don't regard, a lot of them, not all of them, so let me make that clear for all of you. It's not all of them, but a lot of them, it's quite clear, especially a lot of these white male police officers too. I know there have been some women police officers and some black police officers that have done stuff as well, so I'm not looking past that. But a lot of these police officers it's quite clear that they are racist. They have a preconceived bias, and it's difficult for you to treat someone as a human being when you don't really regard them as being equal as you, right? When you don't see them as your equal, it's very difficult for you to treat them as such. And so that's why a lot of times they're being approached that way. But there definitely needs to be training as far as communication is concerned. You have to learn how to talk to people. A lot of these police officers do not know how to talk to people. They need to go back to school. They need to be training. They need to be retrained. All of them across the United States of America. They need to be retrained, right? They need to go back to school, take psychology courses, take communication courses, take diversity courses. They need to go back and learn how to deal with people, how to understand situations, how not just to reach for, and how to talk to people. You listen to a lot of them, how they're shouting and they're yelling and they're this and a lot of times the other person doesn't even have a gun or doesn't even have, but they're yelling and they're carrying on and they're this, and it's like, why? What's your problem? What is wrong with you? Why are you so hot? Why are you getting on like that? That is the preconceived bias. I'm telling you, that is the preconceived bias. And you could only fake something for so long, but there are certain things that you do in life that it shows really clear who you are. And that is one of those situations. That's why they can't talk to a lot of these people that they're killing in a certain type of way, because that's why they rush to force, is because they have a preconceived bias. And if I don't see you as my equal, then it's going to be very difficult for me to be able to deal with you as my equal. So in the case of Caron Nazario and Daunte Wright, you've seen these examples again and again. And I could understand why the Army medic, Caron, didn't want to leave, because the man said he was scared. He was scared he was going to get killed. I mean, think about it, right? A lot of black men are walking around with PTSD from just seeing a lot of these types of situations. And even though they're coached by their family, their parents, their whatever the case is, telling them, like, this is how you behave when so and so happens. When you're in the moment and somebody pulls their gun and they're yelling at you, a lot of times that stuff is going to be very difficult for you to be able to deal with, right? But it's sad that this is happening. I'm telling you, what is clear is that police officers, they know how to kill, but they do not know how to communicate so they could de-escalate situations. And there's a lot of training and stuff that needs to happen. And I'm telling you also, it's because of a lot of preconceived biases that these people have. Some people are not going to want to hear it. I know, it is what it is. But the truth is, if I don't see you as my equal, then I can't talk to you as my equal. I can't treat you as my equal. And then so, therefore, we're going to have a lot of these instances happening over and over and over again. And hiding behind the power of the badge and the uniform and having that wind at their back, and you see what a lot of these officers are doing. And the good officers need to call out the bad ones, or else that also is going to help, or else this is just never going to change. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. You can leave your comments down below. Let me know how you feel, how you're thinking. You know, I know a lot of young black men are also just really tired and stressed out by this stuff that's going on. You know, a lot of them are dealing with certain types of situations. I was pulled over also by a cop last summer who tried to lie and say I ran a light or whatever. And they want to tell, oh, no, look, you see what happened? Those people were right in front of me. I did the same thing they do. We were all right doing so, and so. Then he wanted to go and check to see if I had anything on my record, which obviously I don't, right? And it's all this type of situations. One of my windows were tinted and he didn't know I was black. When I was going through the light like everyone else, then I perhaps would not have been pulled over. But it's crazy how, you know, because I knew how to deal with the situation and how to talk. And some people are not able to maintain that calm and cool under stress. But a lot of people are stressed out by this. And you're going to see just keep on happening over and over and over and over again. Police officers are trained to kill. They need to be able to, you have to train them how to communicate so they can de-escalate situations, and we don't have these events happening over and over and over again. And part of the problem is they have preconceived biases. That's why they can't talk to people a certain way or meet people on their level, because they just don't care, and because they just don't get it, and because they don't see them as their equal. So as I said, if you want to leave your comments, go ahead and leave your comments. I want to know what you think. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, because I post often. You can go back and check out my other content. Don't forget to share and like the videos. Those two things help the channel grow. And until next time, be good. Peace.